Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Leadership Collective's podcast, where we explore trends and strategies impacting global business growth. Today, we're diving into the growing demand for global capability centres, or GCCs, the concept that's transforming how businesses scale and drive innovation worldwide. I want to introduce Vinu. So we're thrilled to have Vinu here today as an expert in talent acquisition and recruitment with a wealth of experience in Chennai in India. Vinu manages a successful search and selection business, specializing in recruiting top talent across various sectors such as technology, e-commerce, in-house centers, IT services. And with a decade of experience, Vinu has led dedicated teams in a variety of areas such as analytics, AI, software development, IT sales, and much, much more. In partnership with the Leadership Collective, Antal and Vinu run a large component of the TLC global recruitment offering, specifically in India in this case. Today, Vinu will help us understand what GCCs are, these global capability centres, why they're essential for scaling businesses, and the factors that make India a prime location for these centres. We'll also explore how the landscape has shifted over the past decade and what industries are increasingly adopting GCCs as a whole. Vinu, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Chris, for that introduction.
So first of all, Vinu, would you mind just giving us a brief introduction for those that don't know what a global capability centre is, background on how they've operated within a business over the past few years and what it looks like going forward, and also just some simple comments around what they're known as other than GCCs, because sometimes the terminology can be confusing.
Yeah, sure, Chris. That's the most important point because GCC is a very generic term to India. It's coined in India. The acronym is coined in India, essentially to categorize companies which run their services for global multinationals. The services includes HR, sometimes payroll, finance, centralized procurement and supply chain. And the biggest of them all is IT. So any center which has got locations in India and delivers services across the globe for their parent company is called GCC. This was earlier called as GIC. GCC stands for a Global Capability Center. Earlier it was called Global Information Center. And much before all that, it was called a captive. There's a reason why these terms have evolved, because it started from the BPO industry, business process outsourcing industry, where it was a call center. India was largely the call center for the world. And then from there, it grew to IT support and then to designing IT applications. These days, it's gone to Wave 4.0, where we talk about it being a digital transformation hub. GCC, in short, is the entire services an organization would need globally executed from a location or two in India.
And is there any other terminology that GCCs are currently known for?
Like Microsoft, SAP would call it as Global Technology Center, GTC. And the companies like Accenture, Capgemini, who are largely global, but yet have a center in India, they will call it India Development Center. But largely our discussion is going to be GCC, which is global multinationals having a center in India and how they are growing.
So tell us a bit more about the scope and purpose of GCC.
Imagine an organization which is, let's say, a $5 billion organization having operations in Europe, North America, maybe some part of South America too, then Japan and Australia. Apart from Singapore. So they have people working across the geographies. There are service requests that come from across these geographies. The service requests could be HR, payroll, procurement, supply chain logistics, IT, etc. So if you need to have a central location managing that in different time zones, India has an evolved model over the last 25 years, being the global shared services center, which is now called as Global Capability Center, which follows a sun model in the sense that when Japan wakes up, India has its first shift. And when US go to bed, India ends its third shift. 24/7 was a term coined to support global businesses or their services needs. But what it has evolved now is the services part is a given. What's evolved now is how do you use technology to enable your business? So we are largely talking about GCCs enabling what we call as version 4.0, enabling technology or using technology to enable business. So much so that, Chris, if you're a chief sales officer of a large organization, a $5 billion organization, you're supported with information on pricing, etc., dates, renewables. All this information come to you on a daily basis from India. Okay, so I gave you one example, but there are examples of healthcare reports being read out of India, healthcare diagnosis being done out of India, R&D being done out of India, SAP's largest implementation, the new version called SAP S4 HANA, rolled out to thousands of clients, is being done out of India by multiple GCCs. So it's pretty large, and it's not an overnight story. It took 25 years to reach there.
Very interesting. So this is really evolved. I think there's often an assumption that, the main reason that an organization may build a global capability center or any kind of skill base in India is largely for cost reasons. But what you're saying is, whilst that may naturally play a component, it's not necessarily the core reason anymore. Is that right?
Yeah, cost arbitrage was something that was discovered in late 90s. And then that was one reason they came to India. But then that was used as a model to train the people further and further. And the Indians who started working in the IT industry late 90s and early 2000, including myself, have had a global exposure working across different geographies. So we've seen clients, businesses in flesh and blood across all these nationalities. So we understand business very well. I'm saying we, meaning the workforce in these GCCs, understand business very well, understand business functions very well, understand customer, and then understand what is servicing those customers within the boundaries of time that has been agreed. So GCCs is not about labor arbitrage alone. It's about talent. I will say the number one reason is talent. And the second thing is expertise. So these two things are available. One of the things that I discovered recently, in fact, every month there is a new discovery. One of the things that I discovered is even drug discovery for large pharmaceutical companies, the R&D centers are there in GCCs in India.
My understanding of this as well is because of I think, what fairly well documented global skill shortage of talent, and with the birth rates the way they are and other factors in the future, there's many predictions that say globally that's actually going to get worse, not better, by way of skill shortages. India has an abundance of talent within the country, right, which is part of the reason that people are moving there. And you said the expertise, the education also within India obviously play a part. So that's at the core of the reason. I guess in the future, do you see there being even more dependency or requirement for GCCs or whatever the new version of GCCs are in the future because of that global skill shortage?
Yes, just like manufacturing was China's forte and it was helping large organizations have a manufacturing outpost based out of India, I think it's very imperative that large companies still or will look at India for having their GCCs. And if you go by the last count, we are currently at around end of June, we are about 1,740 GCCs in India, likely to be 2,400 by the end of 2030. I was reading a news report which said that there's almost 2 new GCCs being added every week in India. Data I would like to give you on the workforce. Currently, 1.7 million individuals work in GCCs in India. It's likely to go to 2.2 million by 2030.
Obviously, there's a huge amount of growth with GCCs in India. There are obviously other countries where organizations can hire talent and, create GCCs, right? There's other big countries like China, historically. I think Philippines, Mexico, and there's other big countries as well that could support these needs. But so you see GCCs as a whole growing over the next decade, for example, and reiterating itself again and again over time?
Yes, because if you look at what does a GCC need, it needs an ecosystem of talent that is available, a politically stable country. Number three, it needs an industry which feeds talent into it. And remember, the IT services industry is very large in India with about 20 million people working in it. So GCC talent comes from a lot of Indian companies, a lot of multinational IT services companies, and the Indian IT services companies. And when you look at all these things, GCCs don't come to India for 10 resources, 20 resources, 30 resources. Okay, these are available in the countries that you mentioned. But when they have to set up large teams and work on an integrated model in one center or two centers in India, the talent pool that they get to choose from is way larger in India than if you took a look at Latin America. It has only about 700,000 resources to choose from. But whereas if you look at India, there is more than 20 million resources to choose from.
I know that you're based in India and you're, a specialist around India-based GCCs in particular, but would you be able to give a wider perspective on the global landscape for GCCs, maybe a balanced view on the pros and cons of, say, India versus some of the other major countries that, where it's possible to set up a global capability center?
Yeah, so I'll start from east of India. So Philippines has been doing a good job over the last 15 years on the business support services. Philippines has a lot of English-speaking talent. Malaysia has English-speaking talent. So Philippines and Malaysia have been doing it for quite some years. Then if you leave out India, the Middle East had some support services, largely for Middle East and maybe a little bit of Europe. And if you see the Eastern Europe, Poland was big in GCCs. Most of the European companies had an outpost in Poland and doing high quality work. It may not have been large centers, but doing high quality work. Latin America was just an outpost to the US in terms of near shoring, as they used to say 10 years back. So Latin America grew because American companies wanted near shoring. And the Eastern European countries grew because Europe needed nearshoring. And Russia at one point of time had some really good IT talent, but it's limited in number.
So are those the major countries so far that have been enabling this kind of talent? And do you see it being the same countries in the future, or do you think the landscape will adjust somehow over time?
GCCs, one of the things that they certainly would like to do is pick some very unique talent from the countries that their operations are in. Okay, for example, artificial intelligence is an evolving field. And if you need to have a team of 50 AI engineers in India, it may not be possible. I may be wrong by saying that, but it may not be possible. But let's say they have 5 in Poland and 5 in any of the other GCCs or global support centers, they would have that distributed team. But if it is a mid to large size team, I think the competition for India is very less outside of India.
Interesting. Yeah, because of the sheer volume of talent, basically.
Sheer volume of talent and cost is still lower than Poland, less than 50% of the cost of Poland. And mind you, this is real estate and the cost of talent.
Yeah. Okay. Understand. Without getting too deep into that, I know a lot of these high growth countries, like Poland is a good example. It used to be a low cost country. It's now a relatively high cost country to hire talent and also real estate comparatively. And the dynamics have shifted. People are moving into Poland for the quality of the talent now, maybe for smaller teams, not necessarily for GCCs. Do you think over time that will evolve in India? Costs will go up, real estate will go up. I know you don't have a magic wand or a crystal ball, but I'm just curious how you think that will trend, so that if somebody is thinking of moving into India, a cost likely to significantly increase, real estate increase, or do you see it remaining fairly flat?
The cost will go up, but at the same time, I think productivity gains will offset that.
You mentioned earlier about the impact of technology advancement. So you touched on AI, for example. How have new technologies like AI, automation, cloud computing, and some of the other technological advancements influenced the operation and the success of GCCs? You've kind of touched on it, but maybe you could expand on that a little bit and how that's evolving things.
Look, other than AI, most of this technology has evolved from something to something. For example, anything to do with data has evolved from what we call as data warehousing, and then move to analytics, and then move to engineering, and then move to artificial intelligence. So India was doing data warehousing right from early 2000. And 2010 onwards, it started doing business intelligence. And then 2015 onwards, analytics. So it's a very progressive technology. Nothing has come in overnight, so we don't have to look for technology. You have to retrain people on the latest technologies. And we'll look at digital transformation. We used to call it system integration earlier, which is connecting disparate applications. And what is digital transformation? You're connecting multiple applications with a single view and getting them onto a single source of data. Therefore, getting a view of your market if you're a salesperson, getting a view of your inventory if you are a supply chain person, and optimizing technology needs and the teams that are working to support those needs. And digital transformation, again, has gone through a journey over the last 15 years. So you need people to be trained on new skills and technology. And it's easier getting it done through people who have already worked for 15 years and then train them. So if I take these two examples of data and digital transformation, technology is new, but the evolution has to be there for you to do it seamlessly or to deliver projects without spending a lot of time learning that technology and delivering. I would like to add to this there is it's not about technology alone. It is the process. You and I have been in the recruitment industry. So what differentiates one company from the other is the process that they follow. So today you may have AI that's come in or social media that came in about 5 years ago, but the process remains the same. Your sourcing engine changes, your review engine changes, but the process is more or less same. So similarly, India has had various stages of processes. There was something called capability maturity model. Then there was Six Sigma. And those have driven quality standards to very high levels. So coupled with technology advancement, people having the ability to support multiple countries and processes have taken them to the next level where competition is limited.
People who have adopted this model, the global capability centers, particularly in India, is no longer a sort of back office cost reduction exercise. It's actually a very important integrated component of the overarching business.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We had something in manufacturing. We had something called Make in India, which was launched about 8 or 10 years ago, very ceremoniously. And now production or manufacturing has picked up big time in India. So GCCs in the parlance of Make in India, it is service from India. The future is a lot of these global multinationals will leverage GCCs to deliver that services from India. And I would not hesitate to say that you may have the CXO level functions work out of India, whereas your head offices will be your outposts because your markets are there.
Tell us more about the industries which are really surging at the moment when it comes to the GCC adoption.
Banking industry was the first to utilize India's and they really saw the evolution of services. Like I said, that they started as an outpost, then they moved to satellite, then they moved to portfolio hub, and then transformation hub. So if you look at banking, they have done all these things. And today, when a bank from Singapore came in about 7-8 years ago into India, they no longer bought their low-end work to India. They bought their digital transformation work to India. Okay. But if you look at the conventional banks, both from UK as well as US, they had started off doing the low-end work, which is in India, we call as business process operations, BPO, where you have the voice-enabled support and you also have the system-enabled support, both technical as well as what we call as service-enabled. So insurance requires a support, banking requires a support. Those are system-enabled support that was being delivered. But the high-end IT work, that is writing new systems, managing those systems, was being done out of various other countries or the parent country. Those jobs have moved to India. So banking was number one. Healthcare is doing it in a big way. Healthcare, both from the insurance perspective as well as the provider. I know one client of mine, which is one of the largest healthcare provider company from the US. They have been having their center based out of south of India. They've grown from 300 people and wanting to be 3,000 people over the next 5 or 6 years. Manufacturing has been big. Most of the global manufacturing organizations not only have their R&D centers based out of India, but their IT and digital transformation hubs based out of India. Recently, not to miss out, one of the largest global chains in the hotel industry set up a GCC based out of south of India. So it's heartwarming to see almost every kind of vertical being set up a GCC in India, but large majority of them are banking. Second is manufacturing. Third is healthcare. By banking, I mean BFSI, banking, finance, insurance.
Brilliant. A lot of industries. Where would you see, what would you see happening next? Are there any other industries that you would see that would particularly benefit from this particular model that maybe haven't adopted it to its fullest yet?
You've seen the large companies from most of these sectors coming in. So the number 2, number 3, number 10, they are going to follow suit. Apple did not come into India for so many years. And if you look at the revenues of Apple in India, it's about $6 billion as of half year, and they're likely to clock $10 billion US by end of March 31st. Google is setting up the largest technology center outside of the US in India. Microsoft has been in India for 15 years and they're still growing. SAP had their presence based out of Bangalore for about 15 years. Now they're setting up one in Hyderabad. So the existing centers are growing and the new centers are coming in. I said 1700 is the existing number and likely to go to about 2,500 in the next 5-6 years. So there are enough number of companies that are likely to come in. And one thing I would like to touch upon is India is not only about Bangalore. Yes, Bangalore has a bulk of the GCCs that are there in India. But south of India has got various centers for GCCs. Chennai, where I'm sitting, there are a lot of GCCs. There's going to be in Hyderabad. The Pune is there. Then the NCR, what we call it, the National Capital Region. So those are areas which are doing very well to welcome GCCs, offer them an ecosystem. The GCCs themselves know the talent availability in these places. They know salary, costs, constraints, stability. So everything going in the right direction, Chris.
Everything sounds very positive for India and the GC setups and the benefits that's offered organizations. What do you see as the main challenges when an organization is setting up their GCC? What are the sort of obstacles to overcome to make it happen?
I may be politically incorrect here, but I should say that it's very hard to get one view or one set of answers to set up a GCC. There are 10 different things that the organization has to think about. One is the location. The second is the kind of jobs that are going to be in that center in year 1, year 2, year 3. The kind of budgets that they're going to come up with. Who's done the budgeting exercise? Okay. Number 3 is how are they going to sell the GCC center in India? Is it just an outpost? Is it just a digital transformation hub? Are you going to make careers there? So these are 4 points. And apart from that, you'll have to think about how are you going to enable young graduates to join your organization? Because in future, 20 to 30% of the young graduates who join would form the bottom pyramid or bottom part of the pyramid of your organization. And when you look at that, you have to get in. Then the most important thing, the reason why you're coming here, apart from cost, apart from various other reasons, is talent. How are you going to strategize on talent and execute that strategy? Last but not the least, what's your plan for getting leadership on board?
I hear about a lot is about employee engagement. It's about communication with the wider workforce, the reasons for doing it, and managing the leadership engagement, but also the wider employee engagement to manage this change internally as much as anything. Do you have any opinions around that?
Yeah, I have opinions from the perspective, from two perspectives. One is because I've been a delivery manager myself. And second is I've worn the recruitment hat for about 14 years now. Met various the business managers, met various center heads. And I would think that the whole philosophy about how you sell the organization to every individual who's joining the organization, point number one. And how do you get total independence from your corporate office or HQ and how the center has to be run? Point number three is, are you talking to enough people who are currently running GCCs to understand what are the challenges so you don't reinvent the wheel? And the fourth most important point is, most GCCs start by sending one of their global or India employee from their headquarters to India to start their center. That, in a way, brings in a lot of colored view into how you want to go about and set up the center, because that person has not been in India for a long time, and his headquarters or he or they are headquartered aligned. So those are aspects that organizations have to think about. I'm not saying that is wrong, but they have to think about, okay, is that aligned to the goals that they have in terms of communication, in terms of hiring the talent, in terms of touch points within their own organization to get approvals for various things, for growth path, choosing the centers, choosing 20 other vendors that you need to get your center up and running. To work with your local partners, you need local partners. You will still need the Infosys of the world, the TCS of the world, Capgemini, and Accenture who are present in India, because you're not going to hire all your resources on your own.
Talking of which, I know, as I said in the introduction, your specialism is recruitment, as it is mine in my personal background. And, we work together very closely when it comes to the implementation of GCCs in India. So with your experience in this environment, would you be able to share maybe a case study or some examples of some projects that you've delivered, just the wider story around the GCC relating to that particular organization?
Oh, yeah, two interesting stories. One of them is a large pharmaceutical company which moved into India early 2010 onward, the decade between 2010 and 2020. They had a plan to hire about, if I'm not wrong, about 2,000 resources in 20 months. The plan was very well executed from a point of view of technology lines, headcount, salary, and how they're going to get in recruitment partners, what's the interview process. So all we had to do is follow what they had said, and it was a piece of cake to deliver that within the time frame that was required. And we came out doing a wonderful job in terms of meeting the recruitment targets on time. if that seemed easy because there was a large amount of planning that went in before execution started. And the changes that were brought into the plan was very, very quick-footed, very nimble organization. Although they were multi-billion, there was a lot of freedom that was given to the local team to execute things. So that was done very well. The second one I can tell you is about a small project that I did, less than 100 resources in a small town in south of India. It was cut away from all the big cities in India. It was a small town. The client said that they have their manufacturing hub based out of there, and they want their R&D team to work very closely with the IT team. So they wanted a set of 25 engineers in a location. It was challenging because this was much before the pandemic. How do you get people from Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad to move to a small town? So one led to another, and we found a solution by identifying people who studied in that small town, did their schooling in that small town. Spoke to them and said that, hey, would you want to be very close to your hometown? Would you want to be very close to where your parents are? Would you want your children to go to the same school that we studied in? So that really touched them, and they really loved the idea. And we were able to fulfill all those 25 or 30 positions, mostly engineering roles, designing the next set of applications for the client. And these are two things that I'm very proud that we executed to the T.
Vinu, thanks for sharing some stories around this. I know there are plenty more stories that you have as well. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your vision of the future when it comes to GCC? So we talked about 4.0, I think you said earlier. So what do you think 5.0 and maybe 6.0 versions look like if you had a crystal ball?
I will think 5.0 is the entire GCC being re-Christian not only as an predominantly IT center, but predominantly decision-enabling center. So anything with respect to procurement, the decisions are taken here because execution happens through IT. Anything through sales happens out of India, which is already happening. One of my favorite example is of a global food company, and their pricing decisions are taken on the fly or on the route that they deliver their food ingredients. The morning when the truck leaves and when it returns, the pricing keeps varying. Now the pricing manager has to get all the information support from India and deliver it to people or the sales people on the ground. Today, the pricing manager is based out of the geography where the truck is moving. But I don't see that continuing for long because that job could be based out of India because the information flow is happening from India. So that's one simple example that I'm giving you. So there are hundreds of examples of procurement. IT, the CFO office mostly functions out of India. The data, the information that's provided to the CFO office mostly functions out of India. So the date is not far off, and the CFO is going to be based out of here. Marketing functions are being run out of India. So that's 5.0. 6.0, my crystal ball tells me, is that the global multinational will have their headquarters based out of India. I'll give you an example. TCS, which does about $22 billion in revenue, their major markets are US and Europe, where India is less than 10% of the market, but they have their headquarters in India, right? We can imagine that because it's an Indian company. But if you remove the Indian part of it, most of the decision making happens out of India. So because the systems are here. So I would think in 6.0, that's what is going to happen. The global multinationals will have their headquarters based out of India.
I won't ask you about 7.0 yet. I think 2 generations ahead is probably a good estimate in itself. What do you think? What core capabilities, if any, do you think won't be put into a GCC and will stay localized in country? Do you think?
The local HR will remain local. The local sales guy will remain local. The local industrial relations will remain local. In some of the countries where you have government relations, that will remain local. But anything which deals with information, technology, integration, intelligence, analytics, futurizing things, providing services, that will be based out of India.
It's really the front of office, which is obviously not the main functions that can't be moved, essentially, or it doesn't make sense to move. But pretty much anything else can be, and certainly the decision making side of things is going to be a very interesting shift. Where from being more traditionally in the where like you said, where headquarters and CXOs are being placed into India to make the decisions across the business. So it's certainly a very, very interesting movement. So just, coming towards wrapping up now, what I'm just really after, what advice would you give to business leaders, maybe CTOs, HR leaders, CIOs that are looking to set up a GCC in general, and also specifically a GCC in India?
First of all, if your purpose is evaluated very, very well and it's not solely based on cost, that's one of the reasons. You should have a very solid reason why you want to set up a GCC. It could be in India or any other geography. And the second thing is you'll have to see what are the kind of jobs that you're going to have in the GCC. Is it a role or is it a career path that you're providing to people you are hiring? So that's very important. Not all the roles would be a career path, but a majority of the roles should have a career path. The third thing is you have to select your location judiciously in India, because some of the locations do not have all the talent. Some of the locations have 80% of the talent. And the third thing I would like to say is that, okay, don't have all the job functions made out of a single location in India. Because of the extreme weather things that are happening around the globe, I will still say that have it in multi-locations in India, 2, sometimes 3. So that your talent also could be distributed. When you're hiring people, you can give them a choice. Otherwise, it becomes a Hobson's choice if you have one location. And the fourth thing I will say is that have your talent strategy in place. Use good recruitment partners who have a track record of having filled or having found top talent for GCCs. Look at their track record. Understand what they have to say in terms of, or rather, I would say, leverage their experience of past projects to enable your future projects. And last but not the least, have your leadership thought out very, very well. Do you want to hire locally? Do you want to send an expat in here? If it's an expat, usually the expat goes back. So what's the tenure? Do you want to have an homegrown person by then? These are things that they will have to think about very, very well.
Some really great insights today. Thanks once again for joining us today, spending the time sharing your insights. It's been a real pleasure hearing about not just where GCCs are now, where they come from, and probably, more importantly in ways, where they're heading. So it's been really, really interesting. I know we have other sessions mapped out to talk further about related topics on global capability centers, and there's a lot of other things to explore here and lots of areas to dive into. Stay with us for those that are watching or listening for our next episode, where we're inviting Vinu back to talk about the power of the global talent pool. So specifically looking at skills access for GCCs, looking at the importance of how to leverage talent to drive success within GCCs on a worldwide basis. We have other topics related to GCCs coming up in further podcasts and in other content also. So thank you, Vinu, for joining us, and we'll see you all on the next podcast.
Thank you very much, Chris, for your time, and I enjoyed this discussion.